Hey y'all, hey everybody, it's me again, Dr. Daria Willis. And if you didn't know already, I am the new president at Howard Community College. And just so you know, we've got a new beautiful sign from Conversations from the Couch.
Yeah.
And we're going to give some people time to get logged in, about 1 to 2 minutes, the team has told me. But while you're getting logged in, I'm so happy and excited to welcome our new special guest for this month, the awesome Lakey Boyd. I met Lakey last month?
Yes.
A couple weeks
Your
ago?
first month? Yes.
Or my first month? Yeah, my first month here, something like that. It was a warm day.
Relatively.
Uh-huh.
It was a nice, sudden spring surprise day.
Yes.
Yes.
On the quad, we both had our light meal, and we chatted, and we have become, I'm not going to say besties just yet.
Not yet.
But we're close enough to
On
it.
the way.
On the way.
And you said y'all at the beginning, which
Uh-huh.
made me so happy on the inside.
Because we're both Southerners.
Exactly. ATL. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Peace up,
Yeah.
A-Town down, as Usher would say.
Yes.
So excited to have you, Lakey,
Excellent.
joining us today. Do we have enough people that are getting logged in and ready to go with us this
we've got a crew
afternoon?
of like about 30 people so far. They're
Okay.
coming in. They're all coming in.
They're coming in, so we'll
Yeah.
go ahead and jump right in because I just want to get into talking
Okay.
about you, Lakey, and what you've been doing. But again, thank you for joining us for our first or our second
Yeah.
episode of Conversations from the Couch. This month we're celebrating Women's History Month, as
Yes.
you know.
Yes.
Last month was Black History Month, and so now we're celebrating just the achievements, the successes, and everything that women have been able to accomplish, not only in the U.S. but across the world. So before we jump into that, Lakey, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I do first want to go back and say thanks for the invite and congratulations on your role.
Yay.
Key woman in leadership.
Thank
so,
you.
as you said, I am new to the community. I'm not quite a year in. I'm the president and CEO of Columbia Association here in Columbia, Maryland, and transplant from the Atlanta area. So there's a surprising number of people here in Howard County who have some connection to the ATL. So that's interesting. Ponder that for a moment.
Georgia Peaches,
Just saying.
all around Maryland.
But excited to be here. A little bit of my background: I've served in local government. I've been in the private sector and consulting. I've been in nonprofit, predominantly in place-based foundation work, really with a concentration in community economic development, community redevelopment, and have an educational background in city planning, and that's relevant because Columbia, Maryland is a master plan community as part of the Newtown movement, and actually studied it in graduate school.
Very
So
cool.
was ready to make a move for a variety of reasons. There was a national recruitment for the position, and every step I was more and more intrigued by the community itself and a very interesting entity that I lead in Columbia Association.
Okay.
So we are really focused on community service organization, mission-based to enhance the quality of life for people here. So that means we get to do all kinds of fun and interesting things. So I'm excited to be here, excited to make this connection, and really loving the pink couch.
Yes, we have to always
I do enjoy
pay
this.
homage to the pink.
I should have
sofa.
worn pink, but nonetheless, happy to be here. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being with us. And you just have such a compelling story, right? And also being a Georgia Peach yourself. I mean, and the y'all.
Yes.
And the Southerner. And all
Y'all,
that.
gender neutral term, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
good point.
All these great aspects of
point.
being Southern, yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
So, bearing on the experiences that you've had,
Mm-hmm.
right? As a woman who is clearly a boss, I said that in one of our previews for, you joining
Thank
us. As Beyonce would say, you woke up like this.
Oh,
Flawless.
yes. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we can play that song in the
Should I do-
background.
should I do
right?
that?
Do the hair thing.
Big
You know,
flames behind me.
as you're
Great.
bursting onto the scene.
This is fantastic.
So, but as a woman leader,
Mm-hmm.
our experiences are different than our male counterparts.
Yes.
What has been your experience as a woman leader, just ascending through the ranks? I mean, what's been your experience? Tell our viewers.
I'd say a couple things. I'd say the first thing, and with it being Women's History Month, and I have a daughter, so this is something that is on my mind a lot, certainly being a women leader, is as I came up, I did not see a lot of women in leadership. So that was the first piece. Was just the majority of my boss, CEO of the company were men, and just didn't have a lot of female colleagues, and didn't necessarily have female leaders. So I think that it didn't make it seem to me that it was not possible, but it has changed so much over time, with still so much further to go, that it's still interesting to people to find I'm a woman leader. And why I say that is with a name like Lakey. So with a name like Lakey, and my maiden name was Broderius, they had no idea who was going to show up. So Lakey Broderius was on a piece of paper before I showed up, and I was mistaken more than once when I walked in the room to not be what the person expected interviewing. So I had kind of an upfront seat to the idea of where the expectation meter sat when I walked in the room, and could feel it in some cases change when I was who I was. And that was in some cases exciting and empowering, in other cases really disheartening.
Right.
I would say that my experience as I have moved into more senior management and then ultimately into the leadership position has been largely that I am often the only woman in the room.
Interesting.
And that is a different experience yet again, right? To be the one that is then suddenly representative of an entire population, whatever
all
that
women.
might be,
Right.
However, my side note, end note is now President and CEO, and I have a pretty much equally balanced senior team, and very proud to say that, both men and women, but have some power woman bosses on my team, and proud to be leading with them, as well as my very enlightened senior men on my team. So, but it is a different path, I would definitely say.
And I agree with you. You know, being a woman leader myself, I think the path for me was an interesting one because not only obviously I'm a woman, but I'm young. And so, and I agree, being one of the few or the only sitting at the table, there's a different level, in my opinion, of expectation sometimes that comes with that. There's a different level of emotional intelligence you have to be able to sit in those spaces. But when you talked about your daughter, can you expound on that a little bit? Because I have two daughters. One is 17 and one is 3 years old, and I call her 3-year-old girlfriend because she's got that mentality.
She's already there.
She's already, you know, and the 17-year-old is as well. But it's cute to see the toddler. But I also have a son in the middle of the two who I want him to see, you know, how do you treat women and respecting while you're respecting yourself. But how has your experience as a mother, a wife, a daughter, sister, brother, all of that. How has that influenced your leadership journey?
I would say that the relationship that has influenced it the most was definitely a big transformation I felt when I became a mother. So I don't come from a close-knit family that I had a lot of security and deep love in. So I had to find that in other places, largely in my community, which is a lot of how I got into the kind of work I do today. But that means I didn't define it through being a daughter.
Okay.
And then I would say that becoming a wife was never in the cards for my plan for my life. But, you know, I met my life partner, my husband, who opened up the possibility. I said, oh, so this is why people get married, right? So I think that definitely shifted my view, but it was definitely becoming a mother.
Yeah. And
particularly of a daughter. So I have a 13-year-old daughter, middle school, all the good things that happen in middle school.
I don't know if I agree with that.
Exactly. And just,
I mean,
she is transformation, right? She's in every day. Who am I? How am I defining myself? And in the midst of COVID, no less. I mean, imagine middle school in COVID. But I think that how it has changed me is twofold. One, her eyes are on me every day, all the time. And what I do and who I am and what I say better deliver. And I have to reach the bar that I expect for her and demonstrate it can be done.
Excellent.
And changing the world and telling your child that she can change the world means that I really have to do that every day.
You got to practice what you preach.
I do.
Absolutely.
And then I'd say the other piece is the way that I think of my team has shifted. I became a lot more open with leading with my heart. And that doesn't mean I leave my mind behind. It's a very important component of the puzzle. But the idea of really seeing people and valuing them from their total humanity and who they are, I think that just really opened up for me when I became a mother.
Right.
I think it made me lead differently, and I get a lot of feedback of wanting to relate to my team members because, I mean, they're fascinating, awesome humans.
Right.
And they're someone's child or spouse or brother or sister. And I think becoming a parent for me really just opened that up in a lot of ways. So how about you? You have 3?
Well, I have 3.
Yeah.
The first one came when I was 19, and I was not on the best trajectory for college. I partied a little too much in the South.
I can feel you on that one.
And I don't know if I want to say it was a little too much. I think you have to have a certain element of fun in college. But maybe I took it over, to in other places
Maybe,
and
maybe
spaces.
not.
Maybe
I
not.
mean,
But
hard
I
to-
ended up pretty good, right?
I think so.
You know.
I mean, you're on this pink couch.
Hey, if
Come on.
anything, I deserve the pink couch for all the partying I did. But when I had Lyric, I remember when I had her, and I had this little moment in the room with her, and I just said, when you grow up, I don't want her to ever see me be nothing.
Wow.
And so from that moment, it's like she kicked me into overdrive.
That's a lot to live up to.
I know, but I said it, right?
Yeah.
So now I got to
You
live
love
up
it.
to it. And it seems like I feel like we've grown up together because she has really seen me at my lowest point, at my highest point, at the midpoint, and we've been doing this thing together. I mean, she was born in Florida. We went from Florida, Georgia, back to Texas, New York, Washington, and now here. She, out of all 3, has seen it all.
Right.
So when I think about leadership, I think, what example am I setting for her?
Yes.
That I don't want her to be a follower. Yeah, have friends, have fun, do those things, but you need to lead the pack. I mean, everybody can't be a leader, but it's special folks that can do it, but she has it in her.
Yes.
I want our
Yes.
girls, all of our girls, to feel that
Yes.
way,
Yes.
that they have it in them,
Yes.
to make that happen.
And I do question whether we allow real space for that, right? And a lot of how we raise all kids, right? Not just
True.
daughters, as you
Right.
said, you have a son, but I feel like a lot of what I talk about, at home and we talk about as a family and how you move through the world and who you are as a human. I don't know if that is talked about as much in every family. I know
Exactly.
from my upbringing it wasn't.
Right.
So the idea of how does everybody get touched by that?
Right.
And that's,
Right.
again, I think how the loop happens in being a leader is I now believe that in everyone. I knew it to be true about myself. I know it to be true about the people I care about. I'm sure it's true about everybody else. How can I bring that, right?
So with that then, what are the challenges that you face? Because it's not easy. It's not easy being a spouse, being a mom, a parent, or whatever. So I know we've got some viewers out there who want to know,
Yeah.
what were the challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those challenges?
So I like that you're calling them challenges and not the traditional, how do you balance it all? Because the answer is on
There is
any
none.
given day, it's out of balance in this direction or that direction, right? And you just try to strive over time for it to all balance out.
Right.
I think the challenges, time first and foremost, it's
Yeah.
a finite resource. There's
Yeah.
only so much of it to go around.
Yeah.
Making those choices. And I think that the best way I found to deal with that, right, because of course we want some kind of solution, if not real answer,
Right.
is working through what is my best next choice.
Got it. Ooh.
And sometimes you can't figure it all out because
Right.
I'm a planner.
Mhm.
And
Type A, maybe.
Oh, maybe just a little bit. And like spreadsheets, like
Yeah.
flow charts and all
Uh-huh.
that good stuff. And then you become a parent and whoo, like that's out the window.
Uh-huh.
And I think that it really helped me respond to how do you take the next best decision? And you've got a big view landscape you're striving for.
Right.
But to think you're going to plot a linear path and the rest of the world and universe is going to exactly cooperate with you, and maybe deliver you a surprise that actually ends up being even better than you could have imagined.
Excellent.
But you've got to be able to adapt and pivot and not get so tied into one way forward.
Right.
And I think that you can get so locked into that challenge and seeing as insurmountable. So it's taking the best next step, and then if it's not a big step, what's the little step?
Mm-hmm.
And then in a total pivot, and then sometimes you just got to take big giant leaps.
And just go for it.
And you just have to say, this feels right, and I can make a pro and con list, and I can do all the things, but this just feels right, and I have to believe in it, and that's the way I'm going to live my life and lead my organization and love my family. And those usually turn out really awesome. It's probably what brought you to Howard County, am I right?
Yeah, I think you are right with
A little
that.
bit.
Yeah, just a little. But what about failure, though? You know,
Oh, yes.
we live in a society where people think we have to be perfect.
Yes.
And you have to do everything
Yes.
the right way. And especially
Yes.
as women, or just leaders in general, you can't be authentic or bold or who you are or just make a mistake.
Yes.
And I believe that, you know, failure helps us grow into who we are called to be. What are your thoughts on that?
So and actually this is very important for me, particularly at CA right now, and kind of as we adapt and change, but I live it personally. It's better to try it and not have it work than to sit and plot and plan for, 6 more months or 2 more years or whatever it might be. I think that when you fail, what matters most, so you first have to build on the inside your resiliency so that didn't work out. And that doesn't mean, right, I'm going to do the cliche, but it doesn't mean I'm a failure.
Right.
But it's really something you have to say and say and say and then live it out.
Right.
Because, of course, the moment it fails, it does feel like you're a failure.
Right.
Like
And
there's
you can't
no
beat
other
yourself up
there's
when you do
no
that.
other way to pretend
Right.
it doesn't feel like that.
Right.
The key is, as I like to say in my inner circle, and I'll share right here, it happens to everybody. The key is you're going to be in it. And when you're in it, just don't set up a tent and make a life there.
Yeah.
You're going to be there a moment, a day, 2 weeks, whatever it might be. And then what do? You can't stay there. You're going to travel through it. And often the only way out is through. So I think the key is you can't deny it.
Right.
You can't hide it. You can't
Yeah.
pretend it didn't happen. You
Yeah.
can't pretend it doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
But you can't make that the only thing that is true about you.
Right.
It goes in with all the other pieces.
Right.
Right? And so once you put that in like a Tetris, you should net not feel like you are a total failure. So, as I say, it's not the failure. My job is to hold you accountable to learn the lesson.
There you
And that's
go.
how I hold myself accountable.
There you
What
go.
did I learn out of that? And some of that can sound a little bit like, okay, that's easy to say. It's practice. It is practice. And the more you do it, the faster you get back up.
And
And
don't
the
beat
more
yourself
resilient.
up. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. In the
And have
process.
people around you, whether it be, friends and family, whether it starts to be a professional network. I mean, the professional network of women I have built over the years is, a group of, talk about boss women that, I can just call up and say, so, like, this happened. Just like really happened.
Girl, can I tell you about my
Can
day?
I tell you what happened? And you need somebody that's like, so that totally happened to me, last week, 2 years ago. And we all live through it, and it's okay. But we have to all let it be okay and tell each other it's okay. So that network matters, because you can be doing all the work yourself, but if you're not surrounding yourself with people that are going to go in that same direction,
Yep.
then yeah, you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
Don't get stuck. Don't get stuck.
So that's some good advice. Don't get stuck.
Don't get stuck.
Build that network of women around you
Yes.
that can just create that buffer to help
Yes.
support you. Because I
Yes.
have folks that I get on the phone with and do my girl, let me tell you what happened today. Like, oh my God, OMG, and we send different gifts to each other just to make it through the moment and the day and the time. So I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Yes.
So I think we're at the point where we can start asking some or answering some questions.
Are
Do we have
we?
any from the
Okay.
audience?
Not yet. So if you're in the audience and you have a question, please submit it as a comment. I just wanted to share that we were getting spammed with a lot of heart emotions, so I think
Yay!
Yay! Yay!
resonating with
Hearts.
our
How do you do that?
audience.
Hearts. There we
It's
go.
like, come on, I have a middle schooler. I gotta know how to do that. Seriously.
Like, wait, gotta get my
Come
fingers
on.
together.
So we do have 2 questions that were pre-submitted.
Sure.
If you want to share those now.
Yes, the 2
Okay.
questions. Let me find it in my cute little comment cards.
Yes.
And the next time we do this, I'm gonna have a nice little conversation
Oh,
from the couch.
that-
with that
exactly.
to make it nice and official.
Branded.
Mhm.
Let's get it branded.
You gotta get it
Yes.
branded and make it official. So, what is your top priority for your organization as you take the helm and you are almost a year
Almost a
into
year.
your position
Almost
as
a
president
year.
CEO?
Almost a year. So many, but that's easy.
Top one.
That's easy. Inclusion. And because it then spills out into everything,
everything else.
right? So I think it's a few things. It's absolutely reconnecting and making sure that everyone we serve in the community of 100,000 people feel included, feel welcome, feel seen, feel valued. Same thing's true for my employees, for my team. COVID was hard. It still is. So how can we make sure people are feeling seen and valued, and really seen and valued for who they are and all that they bring and all the components that make them who they are. But I'd say lastly, the idea, particularly in my organization, similar to yours, is we are a very complex organization, very multifaceted, wide range of types of team members. And I might have president, CEO next to my name, but every employee is valuable and making a contribution.
Exactly.
And that doesn't mean anybody is better or worse. We are all contributing differently. And I have to set the tone that everyone is valued and everyone is included and there is not a hierarchy. And I'm kind of coming into an organization that I think had become hierarchical over time.
Yeah.
And so inclusion is like my mantra, and certainly in my hiring practices, I've been able to lead and fill a couple of senior positions in my short tenure. That's been important to me. But that every community member feels welcome in our facility or at our event or, we are the open space of Columbia.
Wonderful.
Public space has to feel included and welcomed, and that's my commitment.
Just gonna do some fingers.
Thank you.
That.
I'll do for myself.
You know, because I'm
How
gonna
about
take
you?
everything that you
Okay,
said
that's what I was gonna say.
and apply it to
Yeah,
me.
okay.
But I think you're right. It's about creating a culture of care and belonging,
Yes.
right? And so I've been here a little over 90 days now, and the one thing I can say, this is an amazing community.
Yes.
It's an amazing college, amazing people who really care about each other. But that hierarchy system that you talked about, it is rampant in our organizations and in our institutions.
Yeah.
And we've got to work on that and give people the space to just be themselves, to innovate, to find projects. Do you have an idea? Okay, how do we bubble that idea up to something that we
Yes.
can actually make work? Like we have a VP here, she's starting an innovation lab, right? Such a cool concept.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't want it to be just about the technological pieces, but what other ideas can we throw out there in that innovation lab where it's okay to fail? And if you did, so what? Let's learn from it. What other resources do you need
Yeah.
to make that idea raised to the next level,
Yes.
right?
Yes,
So, for me at this point, I'm excited about getting to learn about new people and having this wonderful pink sofa.
I mean, this is in your office every day. What
Oh
a
my
force
God.
of inspiration.
Just look at the hot pinkness and bring fabulous folks
Yes.
internal
Yeah.
to the college and external so that I can learn more about them and then expose
Absolutely,
you
yeah.
to the wonderful people that we have in this community and our students. And it's just been a fun ride so far. So
Excellent.
I certainly appreciate you just jumping right on in with me.
I was happy to have the invitation and let's just take this pink couch all over Columbia. I think it'd be great. Let's just talk to more folks.
Just do it.
Yeah.
So do we have anything from the audience
Yes,
yet?
we got another question.
Okay.
Someone asked, who inspires you the most?
I'm going to say, I'll take this one first.
Yeah, do.
I'll give you a little break.
Yeah.
I feel like I've been just grilling you with 1,000,001 questions.
I want to hear what you had to say.
Well, Ella Baker.
Ooh.
I love love me some Ella Baker.
Nice.
I learned about her in grad school.
Mm.
I took a class on black women in the civil rights movement.
Mm.
And it was mostly about, okay, yeah, we had all these wonderful men who did great things, but the civil rights movement was a really paternalistic movement, right? Just men. But Ella Baker was the one who was in the background. She never wanted to be out in the front. And she was a political nomad. So she would go from one student organization to the next in different cities, and she would just get students fired up and empowered about doing those sit-ins and all the things that we saw with the student movement. She helped create that and cultivate that environment where people were excited about impacting change and what change that they could have. And I've just always been inspired by that spirit. I read 2 of the books that are out on her now, and she's just an incredible individual that really made some big changes that we are, benefiting from today. Yeah. But you don't hear her name, out there in the history books. You don't see big statues of her. But she was one of those ferocious, quiet leaders, the Beyonce before Beyonce who woke up like this and is helping everybody else get to that space. That was that's that's who I love, when it comes
Well,
to
it's fascinating because, again, with the Atlanta connection, I think the civil rights and had so many amazing men, but men in the front. And, you can even look at the photographs and kind of be like, And yet, when you really dig into SCLC and so many of the other organizations that existed, powered, the engine was women. And so I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Ella Baker.
So how about you?
Wow. I mean, there's just, which direction do I go in? I'll go in a different direction. Madeleine Albright is a big one for me. And, having read her biography, and she has one of my favorite quotes, which I don't know what I can say, so I'll
Go ahead and say it.
Okay.
Go ahead and say
I don't think it's a big word in my world, but my world's from Atlanta.
You already said it.
But the key being, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women.
Oh, you're talking about hell?
Yes.
Yes, we can say that. There is a special place.
Isn't it?
I agree.
That's what I'm saying. So what she did at the time that she did it, and was the first in so many ways, in her career, in public service, and with her background coming in and being an advisor in moments that shaped the trajectory of this country, is just, amazing to me. To imagine being in those rooms, to imagine what it was like and what you had to be made of to be heard in those rooms, and to guide, literally, world leaders forward.
Amen to that.
She's amazing and inspirational and just fascinating. And, if she's going to say that, I'm like, well, I'm on board with you.
Okay.
Exactly. My commitment has to be to help other women, right?
Absolutely.
So she comes to mind.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Should I go to our next question?
We got a couple more,
Okay.
and then we can shoot on get to that question. So we have a question here. A lot of women and girls have issues with insecurity. Have you ever experienced these problems? And so, if so, have you overcome them?
This is a space where we're supposed to be vulnerable now.
I think now is the time to be like,
here I am.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to take it first, or
why don't you go first again?
Okay.
I have so many examples to pull from. It's going to take me a moment to pick.
Like, I'm trying to figure out which one do you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, I honestly suffer from imposter syndrome.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I do anymore.
Yes.
But when I first made my first application for an administrative position, I think it was for a dean. One of my supervisors at the time looked at me and said, you need to bake in the oven a little bit longer. Because I was young and, in higher ed, and I don't know if it's in other industries, but you're expected to stay in a position for 20 years before you decide that you want to jump to something else.
Well, I think a certain kind of person wants you to stay in that position for 20 years before you jump to something else.
And that just wasn't me.
Yes, yeah.
And so I was a little petty back then and didn't have the same level of emotional intelligence, and I said, you know what, forget you.
Spotted.
I'm gonna keep, going, and I did and kept moving forward. But every time I was able to get to a different position, I always used to sit back and say, wait, am I supposed to be here? Like, how did I'm not supposed to be here. And so, it took a lot for me to get over that. In the ways of professional development. So I had a boss back in New York who's president. She'll be retiring soon. She's amazing because I would tell her these things and she said, okay, we need to put you in some professional development areas so you can see other people in these positions.
Right.
And then you kind of figure out, yeah, you're one of the smartest ones in the room. Because when you look at other folks who have jobs in other places across the country, and that's one of the benefits of being able to move around, you sit in rooms and you go, how did that person get that job? I'm being honest. How did they?
I've had that sensation. I've had that sensation before.
What were your qualifications? Can I see your resume? And once you can get past that and see that you can own it, right? You can own who you are in that space, in that time. And it's taken a lot of courage and just some good stuff from my husband to say, babe, you could do this, and I love him for that. But I suffered from imposter syndrome. And then there were some imaging issues there too, because in higher ed we're supposed to dress a certain way, we're supposed to wear high heels, we're supposed to do this and that. And finally I was just like, forget it. I can't walk up and down a hallway clicking and clacking all day. It's just not me. And so I've embraced just being myself. And if you don't like it, then I guess I don't need to work for your institution. Or if you don't like it, you can kick rocks with open-toed shoes and go on somewhere else, right? Because I'm going to be here. So we're just depending on the situation. But
But it's a path to get there.
Yeah, it takes a while.
No doubt.
That doesn't happen overnight. What about you?
As I said, so many. I mean, so first off, yes, insecurities, yes, of course. I think one that was really transformational for me to work through was, as I mentioned earlier, really kind of my background. I used to not talk about my childhood. I used to not talk about the challenges. I didn't talk about, being poor. I didn't talk about that my parents had not gone to college, so I had to figure that thing out. And that was before the internet, everyone. Let me remind you of that. All through, writing and going, really. And, I went to the kind of high school where the counselor told me, don't bother. I go work at Waffle House, apparently, was my biggest aspiration. I was like, that does not sound true to me.
Although Waffle House does have some
right. I mean, Waffle House is tasty.
Right.
However, the key being that once I kind of, figured out how to make the leap, which still is, the universe having my back. I'm not going to pretend I had it figured out. I just kind of stumbled forward.
Right.
But once I got there, meaning even to college, it became, how do I make sure no one knows where I came from and that I don't know what this is? And wow, you have all that kind of money to just go buy that at the store. And I'm like budgeting my ramen noodles and, figuring out what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it. And it was something I thought I had to hide. And that defined me for quite some time, and it hardened me. And I think over time, I had to live my way through figuring out who I was. So very similar to you, you had to actually have the experience and go, wait a second, I can figure this out. I did take that class, and it did work out. I did apply for that job, and I got selected. So I think that as you live your way forward, pay attention. I mean, that's the best advice. Pay attention to the successes. We're so concentrated on, okay, I did fail at that, or I stumbled at that. And of course, what can I learn from that? But don't just glaze over when it works. Okay, wait, that worked. Why did that work? Let's actually focus on that. Again, don't get stuck in it. Keep moving. But I think that really that a big part of who I am was absolutely galvanized by my childhood and the challenges I had. So why would I not talk about it? Because it's part of who I am. And that took me a while to work through and figure out how to talk about. But I'll tell you the number of people that even when I say it in passing, and I don't trot out all my details, but the number of people that are like, yeah, I identify with that. I get that. I was the first. I was the only. I think it matters that we talk about it. Because if we don't talk about it, then everybody thinks they're the first and the only, right? Yeah.
And your story can be a testimony for someone else, right? So, and live your way forward. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Live your way forward. Anything else?
Yeah, so it's 3:35. Do you feel like we can do a few more questions?
Yeah, we'll do a couple more, and
sure.
then
Great. Okay, so we have a question from someone who asks, as new Columbia residents, what has surprised you most about Columbia?
Oh.
You've been here
I've been
You
here
go
longer.
first.
I was just going to say. I've been here longer.
I need time.
A whole, not quite a year. So I'm a proud resident of Columbia. And what has surprised me most? I would say that from when I came in, and certainly was a big appeal for me, was the diversity of the community. It was something that we valued, that we wanted to be a part of. And I have found that while the community is diverse, we are not as connected in that diversity. We don't use it as a, again, a Southern term, right? That tapestry, that quilt of diversity. I feel like we see each other here, which is great, but we're not necessarily saying, I see you as different. What can I learn from that? What can I gain from that? How is that going to expand my experience? And it feels a little bit to me like we're still kind of running in different lanes. And that's not to say everybody in the community, but it just there's a little bit more of those lanes than I had anticipated coming in. Kind of coming in, knowing what Columbia was founded on, knowing certainly what CA is about. What I've been thrilled is that a very welcoming community, and I'm making those connections, and I'm finding fascinating people and exciting and fun people that have the same interests and want to connect and want it to be more intentional and more purposeful and more permanent. And I think we've just got to really band together. And coming out of COVID, we're not out, but it feels like maybe this time we're actually on our way out. How do we do that? How do we all take all that shared trauma and find a way to be more intentional in connection and community? I think CA has a role in that, but I as a resident, I as a citizen have a role in that.
Yeah, I think for me it's so everything here is so close. At every other place that I lived, you have to take 30 minutes to get to the doctor, or if I want to go to the cool mall, it's 45 minutes down the road. So physically, things are so close and conveniences are, but yet I think from a people standpoint, to me, we just seem so far and spread out. I don't know. It's just weird. So we've got these villages. And I remember someone asked me one day, okay, you live in Columbia, what village? And I thought, what does that mean? So then I had to drive and figure out, what village?
That is very important.
Right.
That's very important.
Because we were like, this village does this. And so it's like, what does that mean? And
what does it mean?
What does it mean in proximity to people and how we interact with each other in Columbia? So while physically we're close and the conveniences, but I still think there's some sort of a distance here in a way that I don't know if it's self-segregated or siloed or what's the correct term, but we still seem like, or it just feels like we're far from each other.
Interesting.
And I don't know how the best way to explain that, but I've been in other places where it's a different feeling than that.
Yeah.
Like, for example, in Texas, neighbors down the street, we barbecue and all kinds of good stuff. And maybe that happens in the village. And we've only been here, for 3 months.
Yeah.
But it just still seems so sporadic.
And it's hard. I mean, you too moved during a pandemic.
I moved during a pandemic.
And so that was really weird, right? I mean, just moving in and going, okay, so this how things are, or is this because of COVID?
Right.
Or is this,
So what is it? So I'm waiting for it to warm up a bit to see if
Exactly.
things change. And
it's
work out
interesting
stuff.
because, I mean, part of the history of Columbia is obviously the 10 villages, and on the one hand, it's really neat that they do have each their own identity. On the other hand, to your point as a newcomer, if that feels actually distancing and not unifying, right? And I think that's a lot of where Columbia is. You know, we're just over 50 years in terms of the whole story, in terms of the evolution.
Yeah.
And what's next, right? I mean, that was a big appeal for me in my position. And Columbia was built on purpose, and I always like hard stop when I say that, like on purpose, for a purpose, about a purpose, and that has everything to do with intentionality, purposeful integration, value of diversity.
Right.
But you know what? That takes work.
Yep.
That takes commitment. It's not just a master plan, it's
Right.
actually how the people move and interact together. So it's interesting to hear your kind of initial impression, because we got to work at being connected.
And what is the connecting piece for us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Being women, that's what it is. Right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you
All right.
answered one of our submitted questions.
Excellent.
Yes, you did.
Excellent. Okay.
I think this is a good question to end on. What did you want to be when you were younger, and how do you feel about that now where you are currently?
Oh, so I was going to be a band director.
I like it.
I left high school after 11th grade because I was a band geek. Y'all seen that movie, American Pie?
Yes.
This one day at band camp. Well, we're not going to fill in all of what happened in the movie.
But wait a second, because my senior year was on Drumline because I played drums.
Oh my gosh.
So my movie would be, have you seen the movie Drumline?
Yes!
Yeah.
My friends played in Drumline.
Yes.
I was like, in
I
high
was not
school
an
during
American
that
Pie. I was on Drumline, just for the record. Go ahead.
Okay, anyways. Yes,
Go ahead.
I love that. Like, yeah, I didn't know that about you. So I played trombone while you were on the drum
Nice.
section.
Nice.
And I was through middle school, all the way up high school,
Yeah,
into
yeah.
college. So I left after 11th grade, and I got a scholarship to FAMU to play in the band, and I was a music education major.
Wow.
And I was going to go back to K-12
Yeah.
and have my own band class. And then one day, I went to a student teaching in a 7th grade classroom, and I said, "Thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. But we're not going to do that."
Because now I know.
Because it takes a really special and awesome person
does.
to be in a
Yes.
K-12 classroom,
Yes.
and that just wasn't me.
Yes.
So it was
Okay.
that day that I said, "Oh, let me pick something else." And,
Nice.
you know, the story can go on
Yeah.
from there. But
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a band director. I
Yeah.
wanted to make music. I played several instruments. I even didn't my mom wanted me to get braces. And I said, I
that
can't do it.
trombone, yeah.
Right, because if I get braces in my trombone, it's going to mess up my armature and all that. So I didn't do it. So I got braces 2 years ago
Yeah.
as an adult on my own dime. And I remember calling my mom saying, "Yeah, I'm getting Invisalign." And she said, "Well, you could have did it."
A long time
And a
ago.
long time ago, and I would have paid for it. So, went from band director to college president.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
what about you, fellow drumline?
So, my answer is not nearly as fun. I've been asked this question before, and my answer is, given kind of how I came up, my answer was I wanted to be successful. I had no clue what that meant. At the time, it probably just meant, like I could live in a place and not be told that we had to leave. I could eat on a regular basis, and in all seriousness, I just had this idea, I want to be successful. I couldn't have drawn the box of what that meant. I didn't even really know what college was at the time I was thinking it, but I was like, I know I don't want to be like this for the rest of my days. And again, stumbled my way forward, lived my way forward, and here I am.
Look at you.
Presidency of Columbia Association, Columbia,
Okay.
Maryland. So successful, check.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
College president, check.
Hey,
Okay.
we did it.
Look at us.
Okay.
Here we are.
Yep. Well, I think that wraps up our show today.
Well, thanks for
And,
the invite.
But it's been so awesome learning. I've learned so much about you, Lakey.
Good.
And
Me too.
wonderful background, wonderful story, and just I know that whoever's listening has really learned something, and your words have been a blessing to them
Good.
today. So
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining us on our wonderful hot piece. So,
I gotta get one of these for my house.
And as we wrap up, remember that on April 20th at 10:30, that is our next Conversation from the Couch, episode 3. So I don't know who our special guest will be at that time.
I will tune in
But
to
make
see
sure
who
you
it
tune
is.
in
Yes.
to see who it will
Yes.
be. Thank you all. And who's running the camera? I just have to show my beautiful flowers. My husband
So pretty.
brought them in like 20 minutes before the show started.
I mean,
So
impressive
thank
man,
you.
husband man,
He wanted
whatever your
them
name
in-
is.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
He wanted them in the shot, but it didn't work with a small
Oh.
camera. So if he's watching, I think that made him feel a little bit better.
Good job. Good
Thank
job.
y'all for joining us, and we'll see you on April 20th for the next Conversations from the Couch. Peace.